Hi, my name is Juliana, and I'm a fitness instructor and yoga instructor at the Zakim Center for Integrated Therapies and Healthy Living at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. This time we're going to do some more straightening exercises for the ankles and the ankle joint. So before we did some exercise with non-bearing weight, and this one is not bearing weight still, but we're starting to add a little bit of resistance. So with that, we're going to be starting to introduce resistant bands. So it could be one of these big therapy bands that are a little bit longer and you can adjust. Or if you have a loop band, it's also possible to work with these as well. So I recommend starting with something that the resistance is not too heavy, and you can always progress with that as you move further and you start to get a little bit stronger. All right? So the way just to support the band, if you have a loop, it would be putting it around the foot that you will be working on. You want to make sure that if you're hinging over it, your lower back is okay, your core is okay, and your shoulders, you're not pulling it too much onto your ears. So just reminding yourself to keep good form. If you're using a TheraBand, one of these big therapy bands, you can use it around your foot, and perhaps that will give you a little bit more resistance and also support to work a little bit higher instead of having to bend too much. Just like we did with the exercise, non-bearing exercises, we're gonna also move our ankle joint in all those planes. We're gonna start to do that dorsiflexion up, the plantar flexion down, the inversion, and eversion, right? So moving it laterally. One thing I want to remind you, do not wrap your bands around your hands, right? That's going to cut the circulation. We don't want that. So always make sure that you're holding the band firmly any way that works more comfortable for you. Just safety reminder there. So our first exercise today, we're going to be using that therapy band. And what we're going to do, we're going to firm that heel. Your knee can be soft. It's absolutely fine. And you're going to push into the ball of the foot. And you want to offer the resistance like you're pressing through a gas pedal. You're going to push, you're going to hold it for a couple of seconds, and then you release. And then you press it again. You want to feel resistance on that band, and then release. And like I mentioned before, make sure that your form for your upper body, that your spine is really nice and engaged, your core engaged, and your shoulders are relaxing, so you're not putting tension in places that you don't need to. And then relax. Again. So we're going to do this about 10 times for each foot, holding a couple seconds, maybe 15 to 20 seconds as you do this. And then eventually you're going to repeat that 3 times. So if you had to count the pumpings that you're doing, maybe you're doing 30 pumpings per foot for each of the movements that we're going to do. So now we're going to do something the opposite. So we're going to try to do with the foot pushing against. So now instead of pushing down, we're going to try to have that foot pulling up. I actually like bringing this under the other foot, and I can adjust. So you want to start with the foot down, and then you feel that you can pull it up, and there's some resistance on the top. And then you pull it up, and if you're not feeling enough resistance, you make that band a little shorter, so that every time you're pulling it up, you're feeling some resistance on the top, on the dorsal part of your foot. And up. So you should feel that resistance, that if you let it go, your foot will go down, all right? So keep doing that, and every time you're holding it up there, you're holding it for a few seconds. Again, it could be anything between 10 to 20 seconds. So we're looking for something maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds each time. But if that feels too much, start a little bit slower. Good. So I'm gonna actually keep this foot where it is with the other band here and do the next movement. So I'm just gonna line the foot so it's parallel with the other. I'm gonna hold that band under. And now I'm gonna take that foot out to the side. So one thing you wanna be careful with this one is not to start to turn your hips and turn your legs out to the side. It's the foot, right? So you're trying to move into that lateral movement of the ankle joint. You take it out. Now you can also work this with sneakers. You don't have to be barefoot. And the socks that I'm wearing have the little grippy plastic on the bottom so it doesn't slip. So that's why I'm wearing it. Otherwise, barefoot will work very nicely. And also, if you need more of that arch support later on when we start to stand, you can also use sneakers. And you can see that I'm pulling it out, and I'm holding it for a few seconds every time. All right, I'm gonna let it go. So if I'm gonna move to the next one. Now, we're stepping here and pulling it out to the side. The next one is gonna be slightly a movement that we're gonna cross. We're gonna try to pull it in. So to pull it in, to have resistance, we have to hold it onto the side. There's a few ways to do that. You can cross the leg and start to pull it a little bit more. So you take it here, you're pulling it out to the side out. Or you can even attach that band to a chair, and that way, when you're pulling it out, you have the resistance. You don't have to hold it with your hand to pull it out, right? So you can see how it's the idea of moving that foot inwards, right, to the middle line, instead of going out like we just did. So you can, again, adjust it with the chair and pull it out, pull it in, and then release. So whenever you feel that the band is gonna pull it back to that point, so attaching it onto that, or even crossing and try to pull it back. You're trying to keep your hips also facing forward without twisting, otherwise it defeats the purpose. So this probably is the hardest one to adjust, that pulling to the side. Again, the looping it onto a chair is always a very good option. And if you just want to see it, you can take it around. You can loop it, or you can even take one of those loopy bands and put it under the chair. Just make sure, again, it's firm so it's not going to slip, right? Put your foot into it. And you start to take it to the side. So this one is, it's a little thinner than the other one. That's why I like the other band better. And I can really feel that resistance as I try to take my foot into the middle line of the body. So those are basically the 4 movements that we did with the resistive bands, using a TheraBand or one of these little loop bands. Thanks again for joining today, and I hope to see you soon. Be well.